It's a wet and rainy day, and we were going to be working on Land Rovers today, but that's not going to happen. Too wet, and the one I need to work on, I can't get under cover, so not going to happen. Instead, we're going to work on camera systems. I have 16 CCTV cameras monitoring 3 properties here, with permission, of course, but we have a bit of a problem. So if we go over the messy part of my desk here, this is where all the cameras are, and under here there's a DVR hiding in here. This power supply runs the whole show, and the other day I plugged a cable in and it had a bit of a melty. So this plug is probably not rated for the amount of current that's running through it. We also have a distribution amplifier for HDMI that goes off through a piece of Cat5 into the financial manager's office, so she can have a clone on her screen as well. All these cables go off to cameras in other areas as well, and there's a bunch that go out through a cable gland under the window as well. So I've got quite a bit to sort out. When I did install these, I put numbers on all the cables, but many things have changed since then. So we're going to rip all of this out, rip the system out. I have a box full of switches and buttons and whatnot, and we're going to try and make that a little bit more user-friendly. I have mapped where all these cameras are powered from, out being powered from outside somewhere from different sources. In one case, this one is on the neighbour's place and powered from his carport. Yes, again, we have a good arrangement with the neighbours here. We work together quite well. But these ones are the ones that are powered from internally in here, and I'm going to end up needing about 10 switches. So I'm going to have a look through my bits and pieces and see what we have. Now, I bought some new bits and pieces the other day. Let's see what we've got. In fact, we're just going to do this. So have a look in my pile of other bits and pieces boxes. Well, that gives me an additional 5 switches, and I can laser cut a panel to fit these in. So I'll end up with 10 switches, which is going to be good. Alright, time to rip this band-aid off. I've shut it down, pull our master power, and right now the washing machine has chosen to shake the house to pieces, and aircraft flying overhead. So I have been regretting, or sort of rather putting off doing this for some time. It's got to get done, and that wire is on the warm side, so it's definitely overdue. Alright, we're getting there. I used Cat5 ballons for a lot of these, and there is a 4-way Cat5 ballon in there somewhere. But we're starting to get all these labelled and marked with little flags here for what they all are, and we can undo this chaos of tangle in here soon and start to work out the power. I found I did have this running off the solar system as well, and this big junk, which I actually did put a fuse in there, that ran off the main power supply here. So I've had it distributed, so I've had some things on solar and some things not. The plan, I think, was originally to put one of my little 12-volt UPS boards, which look like this, so that the DVR can switch over to solar power if the mains drops. But I have a UPS for that now. Alright, I've got most of this untangled. I've got the power connections up here mostly sorted out. I've got the DVR just plugging in to fire up. And I'm going to try and work out which one of these cameras is powered externally. And I've found the number 2 channel that I wanted to hook up to stuff as well. Well, see, I've already got one camera is powered externally. I'm not sure where that's powered from, but at least I can mark that off the list now. Alright, it looks like 6 of my cameras are powered externally from other sources. That's fine. It allows me to work things out. Alright, now comes the tricky bit. I have my multimeter with the 10 amp shunt across the fuse holder here, and I'm going to power up all these connections, including the DVR, off the power supply and see how much we pull. Alright, so for number 14 and 16, apparently I've got extra power. These two I've put up on their own separate power supply. I found I had a 4 amp one hiding away up in here. So somewhere along the lines there is another cable running a camera. I think that's channel 2. Alright, we'll work out where that one goes. Alright, so it turns out that was separate power feed to 16. So now we've just got to work out where good old number 14's powered from. I had no idea. Alright, so good old 14 is back up and running again. Found out I just lost the power connector in there. It's in there and it's on the auxiliary supply. We're going to neaten all these up, but we have to label everything first before we can work it all out. So yeah, we've got quite a bit to do here. Now when I checked the current on that main unit, it only said 1.2 amps, which is really not right. So I think something's up with my reading, because I know the hard drive at least pulls less than that. The DVR consumes some, and there was about 6 cameras on it, so there was a fair bit to go. In case you're wondering about channel number 2, I have a camera plan to put on that. I'm hoping to put this little guy inside my mailbox. He's a 1080p AHD camera with a microphone, which I won't be using, but that should go in the mailbox inside so I can see when I've got mail. Okay, so next step here is finding all the redundant cables, like that massive tangle up the back there, and the extra power supplies in here that I'm not using. So now that I've got this largely in order, I'm going to shut it down again and start pulling redundant cables out. Alright, removed a whole bunch of redundant cables, but it's still a bit of a rat's nest in here. We'll get to that. We have neatened a few things up over here. Let's have a look. And yeah, we've moved our HDMI distribution amp. And this is also a VGA to HDMI adapter, because I still do run some VGA stuff. And that is fed through this thing. And the DVR also has its secondary VGA running through there as well. And we have a test VGA lead down here. Now this is a second one, and this also goes to a monitor. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. We have to clean all of this up. I cleaned this up a week ago. Well, I've been busy. So yeah, we've got a lot to do yet. Alright, we've come a long way. I even have a merit plug socket attached to this side so I don't get shorts. Used some heat shrink on the terminals. We'll put a bigger piece over that soon. And then at some point I'll make a pod here to mount it. I've got the merit plug here. I've checked the polarity, shorted things out a couple of times, but short circuit protection does work in that. We'll be adding a fuse in line with this fairly soon. But now I was just doing an autopsy on the plug, and let's see if I can zoom in here and you can see the problem. Let's flip over to this side. Single strand hanging over to the other side of the plug. Yeah, anyway, this plug is not great for this grade of wire, and this grade of wire is not great for the load I'm putting on it, and all the current, so the whole thing, we can get rid of that. Alright, we have plug and socket. Now keep in mind, this arrangement is temporary. All of this is temporary. This is going to get replaced by a panel that slaps over here with switches and proper fuses. There will be a fuse in line that goes between this hot wire here. So yeah, don't shoot me. But yeah, we're going to get all this sorted out. Let's plug this in and see if it blows up, which I'll have to do off camera. Well, I hear a drive spinning up, and this is really nice. You can get it located before it actually makes electrical contact, unlike the DC barrel jacks. We'll wait for the camera system to come up here. See how we go. Yep, it's going to work. Okay, so we're going to tuck some stuff back in behind here. My energy's about done for the day, so I'm going to laser cut this panel another day, and through the miracle of video editing you'll see that here. Again, I'm not sure how I'm going to edit all this. Alright, so now we're from the rear facing side of the desk. See if we can make sense of all these redundant cables that we tucked back down. And I may need to wind this blind up again. Yep, it's stuck on the motor. Alright, let's wind that side up. Alright, the blind is up. Now we can see where some of this stuff is coming from. The neighbour's giving me weird looks. They do whenever I have these blinds up. This one is labelled PTZ, number 2 PTZ. So that might be the old one that goes... So that one's probably the damaged cable that goes up into the roof. Alright, so I appear to have 4 redundant cables that go in the roof. This one's come out as well. And that's also number 4. I think 1 and 2 are hanging out the roof somewhere else. I think these short ones. And the end of those cables are pretty shagged. These ones can't go too far. They're only like 20 metre cables. And there's about 15 metres of them down here, so they're not going very far. Alright, so while I'm here I might look at some of the other stuff that I don't strictly need that's plugged in here and what it's all tangled up with. So there's some chargers and stuff here that I literally never use, so they can come out. Where are we? Right, that's about all the redundant stuff I can find just quickly. And the RAF is starting to get busy again, so we may have to abandon filming on this side of the building. But we're getting there. Alright, well in the meantime I got the pinhole camera working just nice. And generally when I mess around with the cameras here, people stop and have a sticky peek, which is what's happening right now. But anyway, onwards to making the panel. And this is the messy side of the house, but this is my magpie-like buddy. He's been getting pretty comfortable with me lately, and he's been eating out of my hand a lot of the time too. Alright, we're going to laser cut a panel, and I found this old diffuser from an old TV that might work well. So I'm going to try acrylic. It is a little flexy, but I think once I screw it down it should be fine. And I can cut the placards separately on some two-tone acrylic that I've got somewhere. Well, either I've had this in my video edit library for a very long time, or my BIOS battery definitely did go flat. Now it can't do anything right, so including sync on the net. Not often I have to use this feature and actually go by groupings of year. See, I'm on the ball. I had to look up that it was July 28. You know, I think it is currently something like 2:20 p.m. Something like that. This should be close enough to get a sync step. Once you get so far out of time, you can't synchronize it. Apparently close enough for Discord, so now we should be able to get on the LAN and load up AutoCAD. Right, we should be right. I didn't bring my tripod out here, but we should be able to go Control P for plot, not print, it's plot, and it should send it over to the laser cutter. Alright, we're going to work on our second file here, and we're going to change our vector setting. We're going to drop you just back a notch, save you, and we want to go back here, that's machine setting. We want to go file management again, number 2, edit that, raster setting. We want to bump our raster way up, 50%, 30% is pretty good. Economize that, that's good. Alright, now we'll shut this on, we'll get some air going and we'll get it started. Alright, so one of the drawbacks to using zero thickness lines is occasionally you miss one and you get a line like that. Not the end of the world, I have redundant holes. That won't cause too much of a problem. I'll just be gentle with the screw. More interestingly, I want to know if this cut all the way through. We'll find out about here. It did. Alright, we'll take this inside, we'll weed it out, and we'll give it a bit of a clean up. Almost forgot, I want the front panel label. Got some of this two-tone acrylic. We'll program that up and do our front label. Alright, so I overheated a little bit. I've got to have the air conditioning, so excuse the noise. Now, putting these in, there are a couple of little cracks here where they didn't quite go in properly. I'm going to have to glue this guy in, but I've got the bus bars on, I've got all the switches in, I've got the light in. This should pretty well work. And then when I'm ready, the placard should go on as well. So we should be pretty right fairly soon. Alright, we're going to do a first little test here. Our light comes on, our volts come up, and we have our rails and our bus bars starting to get wired. It looks like this on the back, so we're starting to get there. This is the positive rail with some heat shrink on it. I haven't put the torch on it to shrink it down properly yet. And our individual lines are going to come off the back of these switches, and we're all going to go back to the negative bus bar on this side. Alright, so here's things a bit neatened up, everything's wired. I have checked the polarity of every single plug here twice to make sure. Got a temperature probe here, and in the process of cleaning cables I bumped something on my computer, so something is connecting and reconnecting all the time. I will work that out later. Now is the time we put this in situ. Alright, and we're all in. I have a power indicator, I have volt indicator, I have hard drive temperature. This unit is operating a little bit cooler than it was previously. and things are nicely in. I can pick a camera and I can turn cameras off sequentially and turn them all back on one at a time. We look good. Alright, we're a couple of days on, and I've done a little bit more zip tying and cleaning up, but this has been working reliably. We haven't had a fault. Hard drive's sitting at 33, nearly 34 degrees, quite stable. Same as this has been a fairly reliable unit. Our volts have dropped a little bit under load, but I'm pulling about 80% of the capacity on this. So yeah, we're about there. And in any case, the label has gone on well, everything's good, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. For me, it's one of the things I wanted to sit down and do while I have to deal with a license suspension, so there will be more of this kind of content. In any case, we'll see you in the next one.